So last but not least, I get asked this every now and then, so I thought I would include it, kind of summarize it in this video. Um, the teachings that guide my life. So as an Anishinaabe, as an Indigenous female, I walk with many teachings. I receive teachings all the time. Anytime you sit with an elder, you're going to receive teachings, and I am blessed to be able to do that on a regular basis. But what are the base teachings, the teachings that are a constant in my world and help me to walk a good path despite my past, despite the barriers, despite the Canada's marginalization of us? Like, what are the teachings that keep me strong and keep me using my voice to educate and build bridges and to empower Indigenous people? The first one, I don't think anyone that follows my videos are going to be surprised. It's the back-to-back teaching. The fact that if you stand back to back with another person, your partner, your co-worker, your child, your neighbor, whomever, a complete stranger, if you stand back to back with them and you both look around the area that you're in, whether it's a room or outside, and you can acknowledge in that point that you see so much of your surroundings, but there's a part you're completely blind to. And that also happens to be the part that is obvious to the person you're standing with because it's directly in front of them. The back-to-back teaching reminds us that we can never see the complete picture, and that it is our wisdom that is showing when we ask someone else what they think, not to argue with it, but to accept what they see to be true, because we literally can't see it. Saying it doesn't look like that to me, duh. That's literally the back-to-back teaching. So that is the power of diversity. That is the physical representation of the phrase, I've got your back. It means I'm going to tell you of threats and challenges coming your way that I know you can't see coming. But we can't build the bridge if you don't believe me. And if I say that a store clerk is problematic, I can't have a whole bunch of non-Indigenous standing up and say, well, they don't seem problematic to me. Again, duh. So back-to-back teaching really reminds me that I can't see everything. It is the humility teaching playing out. So that would be the first one. The second one, very closely related to the back-to-back teaching, is the feather teaching, one of many feather teachings. But if you think of a beautiful eagle feather, half representing you, half representing the other person that you're conversing with or in a relationship with, that both sides of the feather are needed. That the eagle's going to have a hell of a time flying if one side of the feather's strong and the other isn't, and not given the time to heal. And don't cross the center line. I have no business telling you how to lead your life. That is your path, your journey, and based in your decisions. And I just appreciate if you remembered the same about me. And the most important part of the feather teaching is to remember your power is on your side of the feather. Do not waste even one breath thinking, if only they did this, if only they didn't do that. There is no power in trying to control someone else's actions. I don't care what someone else is doing. Your healing is not dependent on them playing nice. Your healing is dependent on your coping skills and your healing, the steps you take to heal. Your power is on your side of the feather. And by the way, don't forget, the most powerful story you can ever share with someone is yours. Don't repeat someone else's story. It's not going to have the same power. You don't have the right. You're going to phrase it differently and change the power. Share yours. Share your story. So that's the second one, the feather teaching. The third one, again, closely related, is what I do in my business and try to do in all aspects of my life, is balancing the feather. So because I work on Indigenous Canadian reconciliation, and I used to work in employment and training, you probably know that, that for 20 years I was helping Indigenous people go back to school, find a job, or even start their own business. And it was amazing. But after so long, I started realizing, wait a minute, where's the corresponding training for non-Indigenous employers? Why is it assumed we're the problem? That would be a nice colonial worldview. So I balance the feather by working as much with Canadian entities as I do in First Nation communities. I would never want to separate myself from my teachings that keep me strong and resilient, but we can't heal if the attacks don't stop. So we have to do both sides of the feather. And in anything I do, it's that balance, right? That I have to get in my exercise as well as make sure I'm eating healthy things to balance it. In a relationship, I have to make sure my needs are being met, but I have to honor and support the needs of my partner being met as well, whether that's someone I'm seeing socially or one of my adult children. Balancing the feather, what are the two sides to the challenge you're facing? And are you trying to solve a problem with fixing only half the feather? Remember, it's not about controlling someone else, but maybe it's not about working harder. Maybe what you need to do is take the time to sharpen your saw. Maybe you need rest to get ahead, not more hours. Maybe if you're struggling financially, it's not just cutting expenses. Maybe you need to look at a side hustle. What are the two sides to the problem? You can fix it over, under, around, or through. I am living proof. But what are the two sides? Figure that out first and then make sure you're addressing both. Last but not least, and this is something that came up this week in conversation, I was speaking to an older individual, and she shared how she is still learning so much, and she almost seemed surprised by that. And I kind of smiled and I just said, well, I thoroughly believe if we're still here, it's because we still have things to learn. When our learning journey is done, that's when we get to move on. So you're still here. You still have things to learn. Be open to learning them. I know, and I've shared this before when I've referenced Josephine Mandaman, who was one of my dear elders and friends who has passed on now, and how when I went to see her the last time, it was so obvious that she left it all on the table, that she was moving on, having given all she had. And that is most definitely my life goal. I want to be absolutely exhausted of life when I come to the end. I want to have laughed as often as I could, loved as often as I could, changed things, helped change, contributed, supported, empowered, encouraged, wrote as much as I could. I want to do all I can in the time here. I want to leave with absolutely nothing left because you don't get to take it with you. So I hope, like me, you're doing your best to use it all up in the best ways possible. So I'm dying to hear what you thought of this video. Either you're going to comment on Monday on the full video, or let me know on Friday's video what you thought of the week. I definitely had fun shooting it. I have fun balancing my feather, and half of my feather is doing what I need to be done, doing what needs to be done in a given day. And the other half is just sitting back and receiving what Creator sends, because I know that's what I'm going to share with you in the next video, because that's how the world looks to me, through Indigenous eyes. You know I was going to say it. Until next week, I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.